Recent investigations in the Cook Report update.
What price would the pure plutonium be?
The Cook Report series, which started with a deal to make a nuclear bomb, went on to tackle child pornographers, car sharks, Spanish pirates, and IRA terrorists. What's happened since then?
Explain, please, your connection with computer pornography. Baby, arrogant pulpit, being supplied by you.
Oh, now,
You are the problem. You are the problem.
Last week's programme, the one naming Martin McGuinness as the man who controls the IRA, made headline news.
He's had a taste for blood. He's killed people himself.
And has fought the British for 25 years. Now, and for the first time, witnesses had dared to speak out against Britain's #1 terrorist, listing his crimes. Do you hold McGuinness responsible for your son's death?
Well, nobody else could be held responsible.
And Rose Hegarty documented how Martin McGuinness lured her son to his death. As the programme came off the air, the phones rang. More evidence, as we'll show later, about McGuinness, the IRA, and the death of Frank Hegarty. A major police operation has been underway across Britain since our revelations about the new trade in pornography, and especially child pornography, on home computers. Since the programme, we've been to Denmark to track down the man who supplied child pornography down phone lines via computer to at least 1,000 people around the world. We'd identified the British users who'd downloaded his images. One of them ran his own bulletin board called Merlin's Cellar.
Morning, Mr. Crooks.
Yeah.
We're police officers.
Yeah.
I'm investigating offences of possession of child pornography and the use of computers. I've got a warrant to search your address and the Protection of Children Act.
The Danish material was also being recycled by an ex-public schoolboy in London. And when we downloaded his catalogue, even the written descriptions of the images were too obscene to broadcast. The police went in first to stop him destroying vital computer files.
Police officers.
7 years ago, the Cook Report was instrumental in getting the law on child pornography changed.
Okay.
7 years on, our investigations into this man alone proved that the power and the speed of computer technology had left the law behind. With the police now sifting through the evidence on all 4 of the British pornographers we exposed, we turned our attention to the man who'd supplied 3 of them. The man who, before being closed down by the Danish police after a US customs investigation, ran the biggest pornographic bulletin board in the world. Now we'd found his board was up and running again. He calls it Bamse, which is Danish for teddy bear. That was printed out yesterday.
Yes?
Your list.
Yes?
So you're still operating, and this is. Then he changed his mind and offered to show us he'd altered, if not cleaned up, his act, which people can access from anywhere in the world. Well, it's very difficult to tell how old they are, but they're certainly young, aren't they?
Yes, 15 or older.
He now said he'd put two disclaimers on his board, one saying that customers were responsible for what they did with the images, and the other that all the girls were over 15. But how can you guarantee that they are 15?
I can't guarantee.
So you just say they are?
Yeah.
He also suggested that his second disclaimer would stop his material falling into the wrong hands. But, I mean, that's not going to stop a paedophile, is it?
No.
There was more to Kai Kanstrup than met the eye. Because you have a conviction yourself, have you not, for indecent assault on a small girl?
Oh, det er rigtigt, ja.
Yes, that's quite correct.
You do?
Yeah.
Yes, but I didn't do it. It was pure
Så
fantasy.
det er pur opspind.
Fantasy of the foulest kind is what he's dealing in, and it's very profitable too. Just that some of the images, even where they're not of children, are just so extraordinary. I don't know how you can stomach them yourself. You know, women and animals.
Yeah. It's very popular in England. I don't know why.
So you'll keep on sending whatever anybody wants?
Yes. If you want a girl and a dog, I sell the picture to you, if you want it.
This, then, is the face of the new threat of computer pornography. One man with convictions for abusing children and selling pictures of abused children, sitting alone in his attic, making an ass of sensible censorship laws around the world. The law seemed an ass too when we revealed how Spanish fishing pirates are lying and cheating to steal British fish in a multi-million-pound fraud. MPs demanded action.
The evidence that was produced by the Cook report confirmed what we had believed for many years.
To get the evidence, we'd shared the storms with British fishermen to show how the Spanish are blatantly breaking the law. To prove that many Spanish boats have built-in secret smuggling holes. To prove that many Spanish boats falsify their plans to fool the authorities. To British fishermen, Spanish piracy is a threat to their very livelihood.
Roger!
But who's going to do anything about it? As we found in Ondarroa, the Spanish fishermen are making a fortune by using a legal loophole and registering Spanish-owned boats as British. They fly a British flag of convenience and then break the law. That loophole allows boats like the Juan Marie, a pirate if ever there was one, to trawl for British fish legally. Then she cheats by catching over-quota or undersized fish at the same time. At dead of night, the illegal fish are unloaded, box after box of them. There's little or no official supervision. The only concern of the owner's son is that he shouldn't be caught on film.
You can't film here. I'm telling you, you can't film here.
The baby hake being landed were a few inches long and less than half the legal minimum size. A full-sized fish can easily reach 3 feet. Milford Haven MP Nick Ainger says the government should do something about persistent British flag defenders.
The problem is this: the legislation already exists to revoke British fishing licenses, and so far the government has done absolutely nothing to carry that out. The Juan Marie, which you highlighted in the report, had 17 previous convictions, and yet still it was going out fishing, and as we know from the film, breaking those regulations.
And so the law-breaking goes on. Since the programme, the British government has promised tougher controls. But they can't control the demand for undersized fish in Spain, where it's a national delicacy. True, the Spanish government are now running a TV ad to persuade people not to buy these illegal fish. But this won't stop the pirates, who, without proper inspection in Spain, will remain free to loot UK waters. Families across the United Kingdom mourn those who've died at the hands of the IRA. Jonathan Ball died in the Warrington explosion. He was just 4 years old. Martin McGuinness is 43 years old, 25 of them in the IRA. One of the many calls after our program came from a disaffected IRA insider.
Your program exposed McGuinness for what he is. And see that woman that came on? She was right in what she was saying. He is an evil person.
Mrs. Hegarty?
Yes. McGuinness gave the go-ahead for Frank Hegarty. Right.
Rose Hegarty last week accused Martin McGuinness of luring her son out of hiding to his death. This evidence shocked those who misguidedly admire McGuinness and apparently shook McGuinness personally.
He's an evil man. Evil is too good a word for him.
At first, McGuinness said she was a confused old woman. Then he changed his mind and said he was on a mercy mission to stop Frankie Hegarty falling into the IRA's hands. The family immediately denied this. The new witness said he was a liar.
I can tell you unequivocally, McGuinness has the final say on an informer, whether that person lives or dies.
And we now know McGuinness had a motive, blaming Frankie Hegarty for the seizure in Southern Ireland of arms dumps, which led to the scandal over the IRA's arms shipment from Libya. The new witness told us that McGuinness was involved in planning the Libyan deal.
McGuinness took it personally, and he was the instrument of Hegarty being taken away and shot.
When McGuinness made the crucial call on Rose Hegarty.
He came back that Wednesday, Frank had to go out Wednesday, and said that there'd have to be 3 men over the border. And that there were 3 prominent men now I'm talking about, and he would likely know one of them. And he said to me, he got down and said to me on his knees, there's nothing going to happen to Frank. I'll bring him back myself.
But McGuinness was lying. One of the men Frankie Hegarty was destined to meet was McGuinness himself. It was an outrageous act of betrayal.
3 members of the IRA's Army Council, one of them Martin McGuinness, interrogated Hegarty, court-martialed him, and then ordered him to be shot.
I just hit him, like pardon.
As our new witness said, McGuinness only befriended Mrs. Hegarty for one simple, cynical purpose.
Inside the IRA, it was known from the moment those guns were found that Frankie was going for his tea. That was it. He was a dead man. It's not important who pulled the trigger. McGuinness wouldn't dirty his hands with that.
But he has dirtied them on many other occasions. McGuinness has ordered much, much more than the brutal death of Frankie Hegarty. Fog on the motorway, a crash, and a new investigation since we exposed the car sharks. We'd seen how the real-life Arthur Dailies do it, how they changed the identity of a car by welding 2 halves together, taking the unsuspecting for a dangerous ride. And we nailed the car thieves. This was the man, remember, with the baseball bat.
Cough.
That's the car you stole.
Cough.
We filmed you stealing.
Cough.
We filmed you stealing it.
But the center of interest tonight is still the Franklin brothers. We caught car dealer and Peugeot rally driver Paul Franklin selling a stolen Peugeot which had been given the identity of a wreck. Franklin tried hard to deny it.
That's the car that I've bought and sold. As far as I'm concerned, there's nothing wrong with the car.
But the car Franklin sold to an unsuspecting Rob Bennett was indeed a stolen one.
What I'm actually saying to you, just looking at this very quickly, this car is a ringer.
The car sharks had changed the plate, carrying the VIN or vehicle identification number, and crucially, as you'll see, cut out the so-called scuttle panel from the stolen car and replaced it with a new one. This scuttle panel running right across the back of the engine compartment here carries the vehicle's identification numbers, and that's why a brand new one would be of great interest to a ringer. In fact, there's no retail market in these at all for repair work, because if this was ever damaged in the middle of the car as it is, it's quite likely the entire vehicle would be a write-off. In fact, Peugeot only sold 18 of these scuttle panels nationwide last year. And surprise, surprise, up to 9 of them were sold via an unsuspecting dealer to Paul Franklin and his associates. Since the program and protesting his innocence, Paul Franklin's brother, Graham, posed with another Peugeot. But when we checked the number plate, this car wasn't what it seemed either. Indeed, it was actually the number of a car written off in that motorway crash in fog.
The vehicle had been destroyed by the impact. There was no part of the vehicle remaining intact. No way that that vehicle could have been rebuilt using any part of the remains.
Doug Newbold was lucky to get out alive and amazed to see that the car was on the road again.
Well, it's got my registration number on it. It's not my car.
But it's now just the kind of car a trusting motorist might buy as a bargain, not knowing the ringers had been at work. Paul Franklin is a Peugeot dealer team rally driver no longer, and police in 2 counties are investigating his car ringing racket.
This is a public zone.
Which leaves the car thief we caught red-handed. It transpires he's a full-time thief with more than 20 convictions, living on the dole with his rent paid. We can't show you his face this time round, not now that he's also coming up soon on a charge of assaulting a policeman. This was the moment for which the Cook report had patiently waited. Below the approaching thief, a Scottish peregrine falcon's nest, which had been robbed 10 times in 10 years. This is the 11th year, and the nest is being robbed again. One by one, the thief puts all 4 eggs into pouches in a specially made vest. We can no longer show his face because he and his father are about to be charged. Indeed, there are 3 separate police inquiries underway after we exposed the organised and illegal trade in wild birds of prey. A trade fuelled by the fact that these birds are worth up to £20,000 each for hunting in the Middle East. And to catch the man who sold us 4 stolen chicks, on went the disguise of an Arab sheikh.
It would be difficult for me to get caught.
You just have been. I am a television journalist, not a sheikh.
Michel Martello, a Belgian, had delivered the chicks to Chris Neal, a falconer working for us.
We'll give you these.
Martello?
He confirmed the birds were wild, but there was a mystery. They were ringed, and that's usually proof of a bird bred in captivity. The only solution was that the birds had been illegally ringed, which would make their sale appear legal. The falconer who sold those birds to Martello was Kenneth Smith.
Mr. Smith, Roger Cook, Central Television. Yes. I'd like to talk to you about a couple of peregrines that you sold, wild peregrines, to somebody who was working for us.
Captive peregrines.
No, you assured the man, and we have transcript of what you said, that they were wild-caught birds.
Captive bred peregrines.
You were lying then, were you?
We'd taken blood samples for DNA testing, which would check his claim that the birds were sisters and the offspring of a pair of peregrines he owned.
Captive bred birds from the same parents, related, sisters. Yes. They're not. We have the DNA test here that says they're not, so you're lying again.
When the RSPB and the police raided Smith's home and World of Wings Centre on Humberside, he was having trouble with his memory again. To support his story, he needed to produce the adult peregrine falcons, the parents, but they weren't there. He said a fox had taken one and the other had escaped.
Well, we've been very pleased with the response to the programme. We can say at this stage that every person who was exposed in the programme is now under police investigation. The inquiry into Mr Smith in Humberside is developing very well. We haven't been able to recover any of the peregrine falcons from his premises. He's given conflicting information as to exactly what has happened to those birds. But we have managed to find one chick in Lincolnshire, and the inquiry has now expanded, involves a further 3 police forces, and we're hopeful that we will be able to recover more peregrine chicks in just the next few days.
And those chicks will be returned to the wild as soon as possible. Meanwhile, our earlier investigation into the illegal trade in rare parrots has produced results. In Guyana, South America, where we filmed parrots being cruelly trapped for the European market, the government has just banned all exports of endangered species. This weekend, Martin McGuinness attended a social function in the Guildhall to raise money for IRA prisoners. He's still pretending to be the politician. Some politician. No sooner was the Cook Report off the air than McGuinness began the denials.
I have never been in the IRA.
But he is, and he has been for 25 years. Indeed, we found film of him strutting the streets of Derry in the early 70s, openly boasting to the BBC that he was the IRA officer in charge. As we said, he was twice convicted in Dublin of being in the IRA, and as he said at the time,
I am a member of the Derry Brigade of the IRA, and I am very proud of it.
This week, McGuinness was quick to deny that he was the IRA's chief of staff, an accusation we'd never made. According to our witnesses, the full-time IRA terrorist who lives here on income support is much more important than that. He controls the IRA. He's the most important member of the IRA's Army Council.
When McGuinness organised an Army IRA Council meeting, it would be organised like a board meeting. Very well organised. Hard. He could be very demanding of people.
And as well as controlling the IRA overall, he's the commanding officer of Northern Command, which covers Northern Ireland and, on occasion, the mainland.
At Northern Command meetings I attended, bombings of prime targets including Wimbledon, Buckingham Palace and Downing Street were discussed. As a member of the IRA Army Council, McGuinness was involved in ordering the mortar attack on the cabinet meeting at number 10 Downing Street. He is effectively the most powerful man in the entire movement, more so than the Chief of Staff, which is little more than a title.
How many executions has McGuinness authorised over the years?
You tell me. I can't keep score of them. 40, 50, 100. You've also got to look at every soldier or policeman shot, every booby trap or bomb. McGuinness is ultimately responsible for all of it.
So why don't the police call at the offices of Sinn Féin in Derry, where McGuinness plays politics, and arrest him? Perhaps it's politically convenient to preserve the fiction that the IRA and Sinn Féin are separate organisations. But the IRA itself exposes that fiction.
Sinn Féin should come under army organisers at all levels. Sinn Féin should be radicalised under army direction. Sinn Féin should be directed to infiltrate other organisations to win support for and sympathy to the IRA.
After 25 years as a terrorist, not one of our witnesses has any doubt that whilst McGuinness may promote the ballot box, he prefers the gun.
Martin McGuinness knows everything, every operation that goes down. As a member of the Army Council and the Army Executive, he has to sanction it, whether it be in Northern Ireland, mainland Britain, or on the continent. In Warrington, those bin bombs where youngsters was killed, Martin McGuinness knew exactly what was going to happen.
We'll be back with 2 new series next year, aiming, as always, to bring to book those who make others suffer.